I want to start with. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Rebecca Sander and serve as chair of the practice committee of the Kansas State Board of Nursing. I ask the members of the practice committee to respond to a roll call to show their presence at this open meeting being held remotely by Zoom and YouTube. Melissa Oropeza.
Present.
Lori Owen.
Present.
Gwendolyn Lloyd. Jeannie Gerstenkorn. I do believe she's absent with prior notice. Okay. Zooey Holloman.
Here.
Sharon Morris. Amy Wren.
Present.
Tawny Sandifer.
Present.
I also ask the following board staff members to signify their attendance. Linda Davies, practice specialist.
Present.
Megan Hughes, senior administrative specialist.
Present.
Public comment allows individuals to address the practice committee about their concerns, but the Kansas Open Meeting Act, which is known as COMA, does not require the committee to provide public comment or answer questions from individuals. Public comment will not be taken today because there is a possibility that the connection for this remote meeting may be lost over time, and the time for the meeting may not allow everyone who is present to comment. Additionally, we will not know what comments an individual may make, and we would want to provide notice to the public of our intent to discuss a particular matter so that the public may listen and observe our discussion. Because we are conducting this public meeting remotely by Zoom and YouTube, I state for the record the following information. On November the 29th, 2021, the board sent notice of the meeting for the practice committee to all individuals who have requested notice of the committee's meetings. Additionally, the notice and agenda were posted on the board's website, ksbn.kansas.gov. You may obtain a copy of the notice and agenda at that website or by sending an email to carol.moreland@ks.gov with the subject line, request for the agenda, and the board staff will send it to you. The notice contains the internet links to access the meeting by Zoom and YouTube. The notice also contains the Zoom telephone number to attend this meeting by telephone call. Each of these electronic mediums allows the public to attend this meeting free of charge. The notice also advises individuals to contact the board's office at 785-269-2967 if they experience any technical issues during the meeting. The only mediums for interactive communication offered for this meeting are the connections by Zoom and YouTube as previously stated. Each member of the committee, board staff, or presenter shall state the person's name and title each time the person speaks or votes, as the case may be. Each participant to this meeting shall ensure microphones, phones, or other electronic devices are on mute when the participant is not speaking. Each motion will be clearly stated before the committee votes, and the chair will announce the result of the final vote. A statement or motion will clearly identify and authorize by delegation each member of the committee or staff who will be permitted to sign any document on behalf of the committee. The meeting is being recorded and the recording will be posted to the board's website. The committee has the following items listed on its agenda: call to order, review of site packet, additions or revisions to agenda, announcements, approval of minutes for the meeting held in September 2021, unfinished business, new business, agenda for committee meeting March 2022, adjournment. Although the agenda does not include an executive session, if the committee elects to exercise the option to go into executive session, the committee will follow this process. First, the committee must be in an open session before going into an executive session. Then a motion will be made and seconded. Pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, the motion must contain the statement of justification for closure, the subject to be discussed, and the time and place that the open meeting will resume. If a motion for executive session passes, public will be excluded from this portion of the meeting as the executive session will be conducted by electronic means that will not be made available to the public. The committee members will return to the open meeting after the executive session. The open meeting will resume when the committee members return to Zoom and YouTube meetings after the executive session. The complete motion for an executive session will be recorded in the minutes. The meeting is now called to order and the committee will now consider the next item on the agenda. Okay, a review of on-site packets is next, and I do believe there's nothing in there. Is that correct, Linda?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies, practice specialist. We have no on-site packet.
Thank you. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Are there any announcements today?
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies again, practice specialist. There are no announcements that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from September the 14th, 2021. And hopefully everybody has had a chance to read through those to see if there's any additions or corrections. And hearing no feedback, and I didn't have any either. We need to have a motion to approve those minutes. And Megan, will you please read that?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve the minutes from the September 14th, 2021 practice committee meeting as written.
Do I hear a motion?
This is Melissa Orpeza, motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there a second?
This is Tawny Sandifer. I second.
Thank you, Tawny. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those that don't approve say nay. Motion carried. Okay, moving on, we have unfinished business next, and that is the 5-year legislative review for KAR 60-3-102 and KAR 60-7-102. And I do believe, Linda, you're going to explain this a little bit.
Yeah, this is Linda Davies again, practice specialist. The legislation that is under review is because KSBN does not issue duplication of initial licensure. So what the committee was considering was the revocation of these regulations. And previously there was a question if this tied back to the statutes on fees. The board's general counsel was consulted and said we can revoke these regulations and still have the fee in the statute, and the board will address the fee in the statute then at a future date. So I think that was the question that was from before.
Okay, great. Does any of the committee members have any questions or concerns or need further information? Because we're going to vote today to revoke these regulations, as she explained the duplication. Well, hearing none, Megan, would you please read our motion?
Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to revoke KAR 60-3-102 and KAR 60-7-102.
Would anybody like to make that motion?
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do I hear second?
This is Melissa Orpeza, I'll second.
Thank you, Melissa. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the NCSBN survey response, the process to address practice-related questions. And again, I'll turn that over to Linda.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of committee. This is Linda Davies again, practice specialist. So as directed, the practice committee asked me to submit a survey to NCSBN. And so I got those responses back. We submitted the survey to other member state boards of nursing about the issue to gain guidance on how other states are addressing practice-related questions. There was a good response overall, 32 out of 50 respondents, which is more than average. Usually it runs around 26 or so that respond. The questions that we sent for survey were drafted and reviewed by the practice chair in NCSBN prior to having the survey be conducted. So the questions included, does your Board of Nursing have guidelines for answering practice-related questions? And the response was 50-50. There was like yes and no. So the states that indicated yes, most states shared templates and resources that they use. And I was not comfortable putting that information in the packet as there was some state-specific links. So what I plan to do is compile a list of those templates and suggested resources and bring to the March meeting. When I was reviewing those, I just didn't feel comfortable putting the link out there for everybody. So I will bring that to you so you can see what those are. A general overview of the templates, though, included use of a frequently asked questions so that they can be consistent in the response to questions. The questions that without any historical answers needed to be researched, and there were variations as to who, what, and how the research was conducted. And the complexity or the difficult questions were generally presented to the board's practice committee for assistance in guiding response. Most responses indicated a disclaimer that the responses are not to be considered legally binding, as the Board of Nursing is not providing legal advice. And Kansas Board of Nursing staff, we have this notation on our emails as well. And so, we do not provide legal advice, and we are not attorneys. I'm not sure if it's posted anywhere else, but I will look into that. Another general consideration to contemplate is the use of the NCSBN scope of nursing practice decision-making framework. This framework was presented in September 2021 committee meeting, and I can send it back around or include it in March's meeting as well, so that you have that. That was another consideration that other states use. And I believe that's been posted on our website as well. Some states indicated that they have authority to issue position statements and advisory positions. The Kansas Board of Nursing does not. There was also a question posed as to who answers practice-related questions. And the options were from a nurse investigator, which is about 10% of the states responded that their nurse investigator answers questions. Board attorneys, not many states use them except for if the question is posed by an attorney. So then they get kind of like consulted by their board's attorney, I guess. Administrative staff, it depended basically on the question that was posed, and education staff, again, it depended on the question that was posed. The next question related to what resources are used to assist in answering practice-related questions. And so the variety was from State Nurse Practice Acts, which of course all 100% of the states responding said they rely on their State Nurse Practice Act to help answer the questions. And we do this as well. And we even refer to specific statutes and regs as often as possible when we are giving any type of an answer back to who is posing the question. There was also the ANA Standard of Practice and Code of Ethics. About half refer to this. And then there are some states that do have board position statements, and so they do have those as well. A question was posed that, does the Board of Nursing maintain frequently asked questions on their website? 64% of the respondents said they did. And like I said before, it provides consistency in the response. And then the final one was does the Board of Nursing have position statements or guidance documents? And 27 of the 32 responded and said yes. So basically there is no identified person who can help answer practice-related questions. And it appears questions are answered on a case-by-case assessment using various people and resources to help provide a response. And the response often cites the State's Nurse Practice Act. That's the general consensus I can get. Suggestions for next steps. I was thinking about kind of what we could do next. We've been tracking frequently asked questions and the answers and responses that we have. And we could put together a list and perhaps bring that to the committee to review before we move forward with putting it on our website or put it in the newsletter or things of that nature. Otherwise, I don't know where else you would like for me to go with how do we answer some of these very complex questions that are coming in. That's my report for that.
So Linda, did you find this helpful? I know it was a strategy we wanted to try just to see what everybody else is doing too, because I'm sure other states are getting an increase in volume of practice questions. So did you think this helped, the strategy of sending out the survey?
I think it helped kind of just, for me anyway, just to make us feel like we're in the same boat as everybody else. And so there's no real easy answer to some of these questions. And some of the questions that are coming in, there's no guidance on some of it. So those are the ones I'm thinking if they are saying that they're the complex without historical responses, those might be the ones we need to bring to the committee and then let the committee kind of help direct either a response in the Nurse Practice Act, or perhaps there's another resource that's out there that you know of that we haven't found, things of that nature. I don't know where else to go next. Like I said, the only thing I could think of was to draft some sort of frequently asked question, and maybe that would help with the majority of the questions that come in. But then the ones that are complex, I still don't know how to answer those.
Does anybody else have any questions for Linda? I was kind of wondering, what area of nursing are you seeing the more questions coming from? You know, we have school nursing, we have acute care, we have APRN practice, home health. I mean, where are the practice questions kind of coming from post-COVID?
Yeah, it kind of varies because we get some with APRN type questions. And there was a lot of confusion, I think, during the pandemic with the relaxation of some regulations regarding collaborative practice agreement. We've gotten school nursing questions. We did send an investigator to the school nurse conference, like I'd mentioned before, and she was able to kind of at least understand those questions and help answer those questions. You know, the type of question that comes in, it varies. I mean, it's all across the board. I don't think it's one specialty over another.
Okay.
But I could put that together and kind of see where we're at if you want, put a list
I
together.
think it'd be very interesting information. I think it's going to help kind of guide us to give us some direction, like you're saying, because it's getting more. Isn't it more frequent in volume now than a long time ago? I think it sounds like it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's interesting. Okay, any other
Hi,
questions?
this is Melissa
Go
Orpesa.
ahead.
Oh,
Go
I
ahead.
have a question. This is Melissa Orpesa. How many questions do you get like per week?
Oops, sorry, I clicked the wrong button there. On average, we're getting, it depends, but on average, we're probably seeing between 5 and 10 per week. And they come in via phone calls, emails, and yeah. And we have this one nurse investigator who handles the majority of them. And it was easier for us to do that with the pandemic, because with the changes and the executive orders all the time, it was easier to keep one person informed as to what the changes were and how it related, because there were a lot of questions that came in for COVID only. And so we've left it with the one nurse investigator. And so she's got it down to a science on how she can answer certain questions. But there are some that she's like, this is beyond me. And she will forward up to me, and I forward up to, we send it to our executive administrator, Carol Moreland. She's great at helping us answer questions. And when we need to, we forward on to the board's attorney to see if, what else can we do? Is there any other guidance that we can look at? So, but yeah, typically 5 to 10 per week.
That sounds like a lot, doesn't it, though? If you look at the big scope, that's kind of a lot of questions.
It is when it's not your primary job and it's,
Yeah.
You're doing case investigations and then you get a call that comes in and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm glad we're working on some of that. Thank you for the report, Linda. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Rnlp and scope of practice, the components of nursing comparison chart.
Okay, this is Linda Davies again. I was directed to put together a chart from the kind of mirrored off of North Carolina Board of Nursing's components of nursing comparison chart. And I thought I could do more than I could do in that short amount of time between committee meetings. So I need more time to be able to cite correctly to the Nurse Practice Act, to be able to get a draft of the chart for you. So my goal is to get it to you for March. So I apologize. Turned out to be a bigger task.
No problem. I'm looking forward to seeing that in March, though. 'Cause isn't there some questions too on the scope of practice between the LPN and the RN too, especially when delegating? I mean, stuff like that. Isn't that also coming in?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
that come
always
in on
coming.
practice. Yeah, that come in
Yeah.
on practice calls. So yeah, if we
Yeah.
had something of this nature, it might help them stop and look at that first and then help them make that decision as to which they needed to do. So yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Well, I think both of those reports and maybe the document will help, but we'll start helping be able to provide more solid information when you get your questions on practice. I think that'll be a good move.
I know school nurses refer to that delegation chart that they have.
I'm glad you piped up because I was thinking,
Yeah.
I think the school nurse right now is really getting
Yeah.
hammered most on being
And they-
pressured to do stuff that maybe is not in the scope of practice. I don't know. So thank you, Sheriff.
Well, and they have that chart that really helps to differentiate and tells, who can do what and who can be delegated to and who is it not even appropriate to ever delegate, such as nursing judgment and assessment. It's just not delegable. And so I think that really helps nurses, even when they're asking internally. And there are some people who are just unaware of that. But whenever we catch wind of someone with that practice, we always refer them back to that chart and say, start there.
Good. Great. Sounds great. Thank you. Any further comments from anybody? I know some of the members are new to this committee, and this committee's charge is kind of the practice of nursing, and we have the scope of practice in the Nurse Practice Act, but it is not written in detail. So we really, sometimes I think Linda gets pretty challenged with the questions that come in and they want to know if they can do something, and the Nurse Practice Act is not going to tell them exactly yes or exactly no, unfortunately. Okay, then we'll move on to new business. The NCSBN policy statement on the dissemination of non-scientific and misleading COVID-19 information by nurses, which was very interesting. I hope everybody got a chance to open up their packet under the committee tab on the your packet that you got and read that from NCSBN. And Linda, when did they release that? What's the date posted on that?
What was it? Was it October?
Oh,
It was
I
like,
know
and then they had a couple, or November, because it was just recent. And then they had a few more national organizations sign on. So they sent out an update. I think it was at the end of October, 1st of November. But this is, it's the National Council State Board of Nursing statement regarding the spread of COVID misinformation. But this is information only for the Board of Nursing for Kansas. It requires no action by the committee, but it is just what's currently out there. And like I said, we get a lot of questions about, and we even get complaints about nurses who are spreading misinformation. So we have to be very careful when we're reviewing complaints of this nature and how we address those. So.
Any comments from the committee members? Okay, then we'll move on into the agenda items for March 2022. And we already know we're going to bring forth the Rnlp scope of practice. Were there any other items to be put on the committee for the agenda for the committee meeting in March?
This is Linda again, practice specialist. I'll bring back the frequently asked questions, see if I can't get some sort of draft for that, and then maybe even like the number and types of calls and stuff that we have coming in, and maybe what specialty they kind of coincide with. Maybe that would help
That
us
would
as
be
well.
great, right? Well, if anybody has any between now and March, you certainly are welcome to email either I or Linda if it's something related to our committee and our function and our needs to discuss. And go, feel free to email and let us know if there's any other items that we need to move forward. But hearing none, we will adjourn for this committee meeting for today. Everybody have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Some of us.